Good evening, everyone. Do we have any English-speaking people in the room? Because yeah, you are. Very good. No, at least I mean at least one person, and it's enough. Because sometimes it's strange. You just running the presentation, delivering the presentation for some time, and then after you realize that there is no one. Uh, okay, very good. Good evening, everyone. My name is Pavlo. I'm not from IT company, and this is mainly, I think, the reason why I've been asked to be here today, because it's really interesting to um, for us. I do understand why it's interesting to look into the agile methods of work, of organization of work, but for you, it's also might be maybe interesting to see what is going on and how it can happen in the FMCG company. Sorry, I wouldn't use I wouldn't use the normal business word because yeah, it can hurt someone's feelings, you know. Okay, so I'm working as an innovation manager in the Philip Morris company. This is tobacco company, and we um, some time ago, not so far, start playing with Scrum, and maybe for you will be interesting to see where we are, or what kind of evidences we already observe, pros and cons. And I have a luxury to have the guy who is been helping us with this story, Yura. Raise your hand. Oh, this is him. So all our fails on him, if something. Yeah. So, but briefly, the story. Yeah. So actually, in our company, we started. I will be using the word like playing with Scrum. Don't treat it like something not seriously, but meaning that we are really enjoying like everything we do playing. We usually enjoy, and we enjoy the process. With Scrum, it was kind of a bottom-up request, not really bottom-up, because two people who are on the level of directors, managers, members of the local management team used to initiate it, so there was certain authority there to move things forward. But the story started even earlier, because in the fast-changing world, blah 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 blah, behavioral cultures, and business not longer the same as blah 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 blah. Maybe for you it's blah blah blah, but for us it is reality. I mean, the marketing we're doing like we did many times ago. We biggest tobacco company in the world. We are many very successful. We have our biggest brands. We know how to do marketing in this area, and no one can teach us how to do it better, because we will teach everyone. Of course, we know. No one knows. We know. This is the, I think, quote of the day. Quote of the day. For me, quote of the second. Yeah. So but at the same time, these circumstances, they were recognized, and some idiots, if you look at them from outside of their function, but inside of the organization, but very smart people, if you look on them with like just with open eyes and mind, thought that we need to change something in our marketing structure, because it sounds like the ways how we run in marketing nowadays do not correspond with what kind of changes and dynamics of changes and these fresh winds from different directions from outside of our organization, which our consumers experience. All these winds are in our room. So because we sounds like breathing the air which was like 100 years ago, air. And there was kind of intention to play with the fluid organization. Later on about the fluid organization, I will tell you what does it mean, but these are still those factors which makes people think about this, yeah. So very cluttered environment with advertising, digitalization of communication, generation shift, millennials coming, evolving of motivation. So we would love to deliver fast career growth. So all these factors which I said, blah, 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 they are here nicely structured so you could read them. Honestly speaking, I'm not sure that I have to read them carefully word by word. So the prototype 1 was done in the following way. So why don't we create a dynamic roles replacing job descriptions? And the team of the marketing team of the big FMCG company came to the conclusion of the idea by themselves doing this workshop inside of the company. Like, why don't we have insights master, product development champion, creative chief, deployment guru, have number of projects and people being utilized in these projects with their competences or with their roles. Okay, sounds great. Let's try, let's do it. And let's work in the flexible structure. So people will be permanent. So BM, this is for you just illustration of the structure. So BM, this is a brand manager. He or she has a brand group, some junior people, executives. And this is a different brand groups, let's say. And they're using the, I even don't know how to call this group of people, let's say executives. People who really do the things with their hands in the marketing function. Like project based. So this one has this project and playing with this team, this one with this project and with this team, and meaning that different people are playing same role but in different projects simultaneously. And then after they shift with their slaves and keep playing the game. Let's try, yeah. And the trial was made, and certain support was given to this, including fancy, creative renovation of the marketing area, some creative space for co-working, for creative areas with nice pictures and nice words, quotes from Ask Jobs and others. So everything prepared, ready, let's go. And the team tried to, and used to face with certain pros and cons of some things which work, which doesn't work. And in this case, I will read if you don't mind, because there can be smart words which I don't know, and should not be in my vocabulary. So in pros was improvement of agility, strategic alignment, and collaboration. These three nice words, agility, alignment, and collaboration, are in the key behaviors list of the company, as you can guess, of course. Emerging project team mentality. Yeah, it was like kind of we are getting together, and this energy when the people in marketing who are not often switching their roles, first moment very excited, they're like, wow, I just changed my position, and now I can deliver because now I'm a creative guru. That's great. There was definitely certain level of word of mouth behind all this, and it was really positive. The management, the managerial, let's say, abilities of the brand managers also increased slightly, because in this case they now have to fight for resources. They have to negotiate with their peers how they use the resources, who is in whose most important project he needs the better professional, etc. And this automatically create visibility of talents and those who are really delivering, because the demand for people was on the surface. And of course, development of these executives guys from the pool was also obvious, because they start playing with the different brands, which has different marketing mix, communication mixes, etc. Also was pretty well. But the thing is that at the same time there was some, let's call them cons. There was not enough clarity on strategic priorities, especially from those team players who didn't play this game directly, like guys who are standing above these brand managers and above these guys who are standing above brand managers. So there are many layers in the in this marketing organization. Priorities management was also issue, not only because people can't manage their own priorities, just because they not always can decide on what is the priority for their as a whole team, and team which is contributing to the overall goal and targets of the overall organization. Um, and the one more aspect is really interesting. It's related to no blame attitude, because this kind of approach used to require pretty open dialogue, and we recognized that the organization was not really ready for this. I'm not saying that the no, like, speak up culture is not there. It was there, but in a very special manner, meaning that not really real things people really mean, they communicate them in a way they really mean. So in a pretty political way, which sounds like not an issue. You're just saying to me a compliment, while in reality you are crying about issue. So what was made and after? So yeah, good learning, nice experiment, nice approach, and this is the also the entire approach to start doing it in a way like this was already element of the kind of an MVP for the organization, yeah, for this very team and for this very, let's say, let's not call them leaders, let's say initiators, drivers. And then after decision was like, why don't we try having these pros and cons in front of us? Another approach with the existing systems like Scrum, for example. And this kind of a decision was made fall last year, if not mistaken. The dialogue started end of summer, beginning of fall, and somewhere in October we already had first workshop with part of the marketing team. Because marketing team is big, we cannot have them all in one workshop. From one side, from another side, I could say, and maybe Yura will comment on this. We thought maybe, yeah, let's try from the kind of senior people, and we'll see whether it will be enough to deal with executives, etc., etc. Some more insights on the feedback from executives, which later went to the same Scrum training separately from the managers, was something, I would say. It was a huge discovery. You could get their information much more than from the employee opinion surveys made for the last 5 years. So they were honest, which is great. So the implementation of Scrum started. There were series of workshops for the marketing team and for a few other functional teams in the organization. For my team, small team, team of 4, including me, of innovation management team. And certain kind of practicing started in the small marketing, let's say them Scrum teams. Yeah? Unfortunately, not all of them follow the rhythm, and only a few teams used to really follow the rhythm and at least try to practice in the rhythm in the right manner, in the right way, at least during 6 to 8 sprints. And they agreed to have weekly sprints. And those who managed to keep this rhythm from the very beginning during the first 6 to 8 weeks, they really start experiencing benefits out of it. They realize that I need to check what they realize and what starts happening. In some teams, particularly in my team, people start putting this existing their projects into the backlog, and we start putting the tasks on the board, etc. And then after they said, you know what, we need purpose. It sounds like we're a little bit messy, and that we feel that we need mission and some kind of strategic things. And okay, let's talk about this. I agree. Next thing was like, you know what? It sounds like existing projects, we don't really believe they contribute into this project best. So let's review what we're doing overall. And this was kind of a surprise. This is what we didn't expect, I would say. And maybe for you, I don't know how for you it sounds like, by the way, how it sounds for you, for the mainly representatives or members of the IT community, but for the classic orthodox, let's say, FMCG company. Orthodox, I not mean in religion, but the very traditional. FMCG company, it's kind of a revolution. It's kind of a rebellion. It's kind of something which is not expected and maybe not accepted or acceptable. At the same time, we received also different quotes. And I have here those which I really like. I also used to ask people that, okay, you started practicing this Scrum, but your boss is changing, the head of function is changing, and sounds like maybe you will have no support for this because current boss is supporting this practice. And the answer was, I don't give a shit, honestly speaking, because this is the way how I'm working in my team and with my team, and I'm delivering productivity. I'm on time. I'm securing this small team from this weird and aggressive world of the corporation, and I know how to do it. I'm playing this role of the interface. In our case, they in many teams, unfortunately, we are not sticking to all the rules. Let's say the same person playing the role of the product owner and the scrum master, for example. In some teams, in my team, for example, I'm product owner and team player. So unfortunately, we have to deal with that. But at the same time, so person who was like product owner and scrum master of her team said, I don't give a shit because I'm reporting to my manager, but the way how I organize work inside of my team, this is the way how I'm delivering the value, how I see the value, how I see results, how I'm achieving them, having more results now with the same resources. And who can challenge me? Well, no one would say me this. We have a policy which say no, you cannot use Scrum in the company. Feedback from some people, from team players, like, I will never back to previous ways of working because it's weird now to, for some of them, like to don't know the tasks of our peers and other team players, and especially if the former manager is team player and his task on the wall. My team is constantly like pushing me for this kind of stuff. Are you sure you have enough tasks? You have enough lot of meetings? Yeah. Sounds like you just have 3 tasks for this week. I said, yeah, I have a lot. Why don't they on the board? I said, yeah, I will just give me a sec. They will be there. Can you imagine this kind of a dialogue in the FMCG company between manager and the team? I'm 15 years in the multinational FMCG companies. No way. At least from my personal experience, no way. And about the priorities and are we doing really right things? I already give you this example. So the current status where we are now, so we are on the stage of, I will say, prototype 2. Interesting observation here is the following: that you said this about the fonts. Yeah, some of them didn't work. It should be 100, not 100. Yeah, sorry for that. We didn't check the program which will be running PPT. What is interesting? Most interesting observation is like bottom-up demand. As I said from the very beginning, there was no any directive, like everything done in big multinationals, especially representative office. Like this is a global program. We're cascading or escalating it. So not cascading, sorry, not escalating. And you just need to adapt it. Yeah, just eat this sandwich and don't blame. It was really like partisan experimenting with the ways of working on the age of not breaking the policies and internal rules. People start talking about this, and we organized a number of info sessions for different kind of departments. And I would say that not all of them was really successful. After one of them, I started crying, and Yura was also about to cry. And he's like holding me, saying, "Don't cry, everything will be okay. This is normal. HR people like that." But in other functions, and there is a list of them, a very strange list, I would say. People, when they start getting familiar with that, especially from the words and the direct experience from the real people from the organization, they said, wow, this is exactly what I'm looking for. This is what I need. I have 99% or 95% of my team new. We really have a lot of changes happening, and we are working to manage the changes, but not to manage the content of changes, not to manage the job. And we would love to try. And the most surprising was like sales field force, representative office in Odessa, people who are dealing with the merchandising, who are dealing with these kiosks, etc., taking care of the stocks, contracts, blah, 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 blah. Not really the guys who is writing code or doing something like this. people from closer to the subject, let's say, from the IT and IS department, information system, and from business intelligence, who are working together because ones are owners of the systems, another are owners of the information, and they said, "Oh, we have a lot of things, and this is changing all the time. We need to work in the cross-functional team more efficiently and having regular rhythm, etc., etc." It was more logical to and more acceptable for them to adopt the Scrum. But another thing is like people from the plant. We have a plant in Kharkiv, one of the biggest in Europe. A few hundred people are working there. Big factory, one of the best in the world in terms of the quality, etc. We exporting our product from here to Japan, for example, and it meets their quality standards. Engineering team from there said, "Oh, you know, we heard you're playing with the Scrum with some teams, but you know, we start investigating it for us by ourselves. Wow, it's something happening in our organization. Why can't we plug in? Because we would love to really try to use it for the engineering, but no, this is like real engineering, you know, with the real devices, big things, etc., etc." And all these people like were reacted with interest, and this is the main observation of the bottom-up interest of the organization. I think by the end of this summer we will have more than 100 people trained, and I can't guarantee that all of them will be actively practicing, but I think sufficient part of them will be, because their management are there, etc., etc. Or because they just have got no another choice, because for those who were experienced, as you saw in some quotes, like it's very hard to back to the not as good ways of working, let's say it in a polite way. And this is where we are now. So we are spreading virus of the Scrum inside of the organization. It sounds like the taste of the fish being liked by the cat, and this is where we are now. Yeah, we are not. There are some strange people, like the one you see in front of you now, who is really trying to think at least and to play with other wired people in such kind of things like holacracy, etc. But definitely the organization is not there. But at the same time, in my team, at least, I do have a plan to have a glass frog for my team. And this is the strange people. One you see is in front of you. Another one would be great and nice to have here. This is Koля, actually. For that moment, he was head of marketing, and this is the one who authorized these changes in the marketing team and start playing in this fluid organization. One of the person who really start searching for solutions. Jess, I want you to see him at least, because you can see me now as a cast of this small story. As I promised, at least to the people, for the timekeepers and for the crew, that my speech will be, my monologue will not take all the time of the slot. So if you have any questions, we have plenty of time to. Yeah, please.
Should I bring you the mic? Thank you, Pavlo. I would like to know, if you talk about real Scrum for marketing and innovation, how can you give examples of the user stories in product backlog?
User stories in the backlog. The thing is, yeah, it's interesting because that was an issue for the different kind of things. In marketing, for example, they do take in the standard plan which they used to play with, like the rollout plan of the brand or activation plan of the brand. And there is a number of activities there, like prepare the application, have this permission, the pack redesigning, the communication materials for this channel, for that channel, for this channel, educational program for the sales force, and blah blah blah. So all these elements, and they create not the stories, but they call them. You'll help me with the word, epics. Yeah. And they then divide them into stories, and this is how they try to deliver the complete stories during the weekly sprint. In my case, I can give you maybe a more exact example. For example, my team do have a project related to, or number of projects related to prototyping of the initiatives which which our employees bring as ideas, and they need to be prototyped. Yeah? Is it clear?
Okay, it's not clear how you manage the business value, the functionality, the roles, because in IT world it's clear how to build the proper user story. In marketing, in innovation, it's kind of obscure.
Yeah.
What is the business value? So that's why could you just give example? That's what I'm trying to give for the moment, because maybe I need to explain the process with innovation management, because we do what we do as a team. We are service function, for example, in this very case, for the employees who are giving their ideas about certain improvements in the organization. So their idea is to improve something, to apply some new business model, change certain process, etc. Or play with the trade equipment and make certain changes there. So this is kind of a product. Yeah. What we are doing. There is a kind of a long process how we are going to facilitate the dialogue between experts and functions and idea authors, etc. But for example, can be exact a project to prototype certain idea. Business value for the entire idea is clear. For the prototype, you mean for the prototyping phase, what the business value is? Yeah. Okay. Why we don't have business values in Power? You're right. Yeah. When I'm a software engineer, for instance, I'm not. Well, if we talk about software development team, software development teams are consumers of the business value. In my mind, the marketing and innovation department is rather source of the business value. So I wonder, how can you formulate the user story for marketing and innovation?
The thing is that I don't think that we, for all of the initiatives, are really doing this. As I said, we're doing it in a pretty weird way, having the product owners and the scrum masters in one role, etc., etc. So many things we are doing it not in a really proper, let's say, in terms of classical approach way. For some things, we're just trying to, we are really for some things we are really not doing these things, honestly speaking, and this is true. Yeah. What we're missing, do you think? Was that what we're missing? I'm asking what we're missing. If you see that we're missing something because of this, what we're missing, in your perspective, if you have an opinion.
Well, it's a long story what you're missing when you do not emphasize the business value. If there is no business value in the product backlog, or just in your case, probably backlog itself. So this makes this action item not negotiable. So when CEO comes, you cannot justify why we put A in the top of the list rather than B. So business value is absolute necessity for myself as a product owner in a software company.
Okay. Then after I can,
but in your case, it's something different. It's very interesting to me. How did you manage to make real Scrum? If it was not that real, so please explain. It's fair.
I should say it was not that real.
I'm
Pavlo. I'm not doing real Scrum. Please.
Okay,
support me.
80% of people who claim that they do real Scrum is not really real, but in your case, it's probably some Scrum with some suggestions. So how to make it appropriate for innovations.
Yeah.
But if I was a manager of scientists, for instance, I would have hard times to produce proper backlog, because I don't know whether their innovation suddenly will bring more business value.
Okay, I think I can comment on this, but maybe you want to say something.
Of course, there is a place for business value that the innovation team produces in the backlog. We can discuss afterwards. Maybe it's just a war of terms. Okay.
Yeah, because in our case, because when you start explaining about the prioritization, definitely our prioritization is based on the value of the ideas and which stands behind of this exact prototype, and we prioritizing the activities based on the value of the idea should be validated with this prototype. You know. So this is the way how we doing. Many other things and kind of factors are there as well. How fast we can deliver, because we have also circumstances when delivering of the fast evidences that the system of innovation management work, that we can fast deliver the test with the prototype is also important, and it's also playing the certain role which is the influence on the priority. And this is not really business value for the organization, but business value for the team, because team is fresh, and you should understand that this team, or you just should know that this team is working less than a year, and team had number of sprints we can calculate with the, no, maybe hands will not be enough, but with the legs we can count. So kind of things like this. Yeah. Yeah, please.
Sorry, being really blunt, just check scrumguides.org online. Find the word on the page. Business value is not there. We need to prioritize the backlog, that's true, but there is nothing said about business value. So the question is relevant in the concrete situation of your personal interest, but don't talk about real Scrum on unreal Scrum. That's the very good implementation. That's one part. And another part is, I'm really impressed with the point that agility or implementation of Agile made the need of a vision very visible. For now, a lot of our developers are asking, what's the vision of the company? What are we doing? We're doing Q&As every second week. And kind of every time we're asking our board managers, hey guys, what's the vision of the company? And for now, I have a clear answer why we're asking that. Because Agile is making it super visible. And thanks for that, like, hugely.
I already had a hope that it sounds like discussion between Scrum Masters, let's say, started, and I don't need here anymore. But it's not the case, yeah, I think.
Okay, any more questions?
Yeah, great.
If not, please prepare your feedback. You have these color cards